Hi, welcome back, third grade readers. Hope you're doing great. Welcome to our reading workshop lesson. Today we're going to have our fifth lesson dealing with our informational text. So let's get started. So today our main focus is we're going to be learning about how we can determine the meaning of some new unfamiliar vocabulary words that we'll be reading in our nonfiction text. So readers, you've been reading informational books now, and if you've probably have noticed that these books are filled with so many new facts, some great information, and sometimes there's new tricky words that we find that sometimes we're unfamiliar with. And sometimes we do know those words, but there's sometimes because we're reading new text that we don't know those words. And as an informational text reader, it is our job to try and figure out what those words mean and what is the definition of those new words to us. So today we're going to review some problem-solving strategies that we've been working on, and then we're going to learn some new ways also on how we can determine the meaning of these new vocab words that are in our nonfiction text. So let's get started. So I'm sure you can think back to some of our beginning reading workshop lessons that we had at the beginning of the year. We know how we can break apart the words. We know that we can stretch out the words. There's all different skills that we have already learned when it comes to trying to figure out what the new word is. Well, now we're at the point where sometimes we might have to dig a little deeper in the text, like our informational text that we're reading, our nonfiction, to figure out what is the actual definition. So there are two things that we're going to do. So let's just take a look at our chart. We're on nonfiction reading. Today we're going to learn about determining the meaning of unfamiliar vocabulary words. And I have a little note at the bottom that sometimes those words are those bold-faced words that we find, that dark black word. So there's two other ways that we can try and determine what the meaning is. There's one where we can look for the definition actually within the exact sentence that the bold-faced word is in. And there's another way we can find the bold-faced word, but sometimes that actual sentence does not give the definition. We might have to read the next sentence below it, and it might have the definition there. Sometimes, though, you might have the definition first, and it will follow with the bold-faced word. So there's all different ways that an author can write these new larger informational type words for us in the text. We just have to use our thinker and figure out what that meaning is. So I'm going to show you a few examples. If you remember last time, we've been working from our mentor text Penguins. So I'm going to show you a few examples, and we're going to try and figure out together, is this definition in the sentence, or is the definition going to be followed maybe in a sentence right after it? Okay, so let's take a look. If I'm on this page, hunters and hunted, I see a bold-faced word, and that word is carnivores. Okay, so I'm going to read the sentence with carnivores in it. It says, penguins are carnivores. Okay, is the definition in that sentence? No, you're right. It just has the new word carnivores. Let's read the next sentence and see, does the author give us the definition of carnivores? So here we go. Penguins are carnivores. They eat animals such as squid, fish, and krill. All right, so based on that, do you have a better understanding of what carnivores means? Yeah, good job. You're right. So it said right here that they eat meat, and they listed the type of animals that penguins eat. So this case, we had the definition in the next sentence following it. All right, I'm going to give you another sample. Let's take a look at this one. Got my pages labeled. All right. New page, rookeries. Okay, so the bold-faced word is rookeries, and I'm going to read the sentence that has that word in it, and you're going to see, is the definition also there? Penguins nest in large groups called rookeries. Okay, so was the definition in there? Yeah, it really was. Now I know that the boldface word was the end of the word, but the definition came first. And rookeries means a nest in large groups. So a rookery is a large group, and you can tell even by the picture, this is a very large group of penguins, isn't it? All right, readers, let's do another example. Let's look at this page. Okay, this is the one with the penguin's body. All right, and if we're on this page, I see a boldface word, and it's actually two words, and it's preen gland. Okay, so let's listen to that sentence. A penguin has a preen gland near its tail. All right, does this sentence tell you what a preen gland is? No, it didn't. It told us that it's on the tail, but it didn't give you the definition of what the preen gland does. So let's read the next sentence and see if that tells us what preen gland is. The preen gland makes the oil that the penguin uses to waterproof its feathers. Okay, so now do you know what the preen gland does? Yes, we read it in the second sentence, and we know that that's how they oil their feathers. So you sometimes have to be a little resourceful and look a little deeper in your nonfiction text. I have one other thing I want to show you. We know from one of our first lessons that we had for nonfiction reading that sometimes you come to boldface words and sometimes you just want to dig a little deeper. And we know that we could pull out a dictionary, sure, but we know that our nonfiction text, the book that you're reading, more than likely has what in the very back of it that you can reference. Think about that for a minute. What is in the back of the book that kind of is like a dictionary that we can reference? Yes, I'm hearing glossary. This one in my book is labeled words to know, but it's really the same idea. So I was wondering when I was reading this a little bit, I wonder if they have a little bit more, detail when it comes to the word carnivore. I remember that we saw that it was carnivore. We read the second sentence. It told us a little bit more about it. But I want to look that up in the glossary, which is also known as like a dictionary. And I found carnivore right here, okay? So it's a boldface word. So all the boldface words will always be towards the back of the book, giving you more of a definition. So carnivore says, an animal that only eats other animals. So do you notice that that definition is a little different than what we read in the book? Yes, it actually helped give me even more understanding that what an actual carnivore is, that they only eat other animals. So that's some more knowledge. Now, readers, here's what you need to do. As you're learning these new words, you need to start using them in your vocabulary when you're talking to others about this certain topic. These are all great words that you need to start including when you're discussing what you read. So try and keep that in mind. That's why having like a reading notebook where you can jot a few notes down would be helpful. Or like Mrs. Talon, I was using sticky notes. So you might use a sticky note just like we do in class, in school. That's what we do. So I want you to continue all those skills at home, okay? Let me see. We know, yes, of course, that if you come to a boldface word, you can always ask somebody. That was another reminder that we had. But today, and moving forward, I really want you to try and figure them out on your own by one, reading the sentence and see if the definition is in that sentence, and two, read past that boldface word and see if other information, the next sentence or two, will give you the definition for that word that you're reading. So that's what your job is today, okay? While you're reading your nonfiction book, go ahead and go back to the book that you've been reading. And I want you to, even if you've already read the pages, now's the time to go back and maybe you can start figuring out the definitions that maybe you were struggling with, okay? So I'm proud of all of you. I love seeing the work that you've been doing. I know that Mr. Fraser and Mrs. Stambolian feel the same way. So keep it up, readers, and you're doing a great job. And stay tuned for your next reading workshop lesson for tomorrow. All right, take care.